Welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the weekly and Stadia and gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. You join me this week, Chris, one of your hosts, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello, everyone.
Hello indeed. We've got a great show lined up for all you viewers and listeners out there. We will be talking about the Developer Summit, of course. Google for Games Developer Summit. We'll be breaking down all the news to trickle out of there. No game news, but we do have game stories on the way. We'll be talking about EA pulling out of their summer conference, some updates on some Ubisoft titles, new games rated and dated, and much, much more. But before we delve into all that, Richie, let's give a special shout out to all of our listeners and viewers out there. This past week, we actually just tweeted about it on the official account, but one of our podcasts just passed 1,000 views, which is very, very heartwarming. I know me and you have had conversations in our group chat about the numbers in the last few weeks have done really, really well, and they've seen like a massive, massive spike. We don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, this was a bit of a milestone for us because this is the first we've broke 1,000 views and listens combined before a couple of times. But this is the first time on YouTube alone one of our podcasts has broke 1,000 views. So we were pretty chuffed when we saw it.
Yeah, it's obviously it's a small feat in the grander scheme of YouTube, and I watch the Hot Ones video interviews, and that guy's smashing out 20, 30, 40 million views, and we're not quite at that level yet. But you know what? The fact that hundreds of you will tune in every single week, we can't say enough. It's so heartwarming, and it makes this hobby just all the more easier to know that there's fellow gamers, fellow people out there who just buy into our gaming conversation week in, week out. So massive shout out to you, gaming community, Stadia community, all the lovely people who listen all over the globe. We appreciate every single one of you. And if you're here, if you are one of the 1,000 people, do click like, because all those little thumbs up do apparently add in to the algorithm.
Oh, should we set a target for 1,000 likes?
No, we're not doing anything like that. If you want to, ladies and gentlemen, you do it. You do the right thing. Look deep into your heart and think about what you're about to do. And if you don't, Richie will look deep into your soul and tear out. No, he won't really. He can't do that. He's not that magic. He's just a podcast host right here on the Sounds of Stadia podcast. As I said, we've got a fantastic show for you. We didn't have a live stream this past week, Richie. So instead of talking for the next few minutes about what we played this past week, what I wanted to do was pose a question, which I asked our friends earlier on in our other group chat, is when you have a shower, do you wash your legs?
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Right.
Every time, so religiously every time. My response was after coming up with broaching that subject, I thought when I'm in the shower, I very much go through my routine. We'll all have a routine. You do your hair, you shampoo, your conditioner, you wash around. You might shave your chest if you're one of those individuals. You might wash. You do your bits and your bobs as they do. You get right up in the arse crack. You do that bit of a clean. Sorry, didn't mean to be so graphic. But when I was thinking about it, I don't think I always wash, lather up my calves, my legs necessarily. See, I'm a tall individual, and when I play sports, I definitely do it. But I think when I'm just having a casual, run-of-the-mill weekly shower, I do everything else. I do the arms, but I think it's just so far down. I have a bad back sometimes. I think, the water's flowing down me, all the suds are running down. The back of my calves and my shins especially, they don't sweat, so I'm fine. So I'm curious, Richie, do you want to give me your take? Am I weird for this, or...
Well, I don't think you're weird, to be honest. Well, this is why I was asking, we need to define what wash means, because if you think about it, if you're lathering up your upper body and your hair and your arms and stuff, it's going to flow down, so they're going to get a bit of a wash anyway. Mm-hmm. And if you're not a particularly dirty individual, I don't think day to day there's a specific need to go, must make sure my shins are shined.
Shin shining duties.
Yeah.
Just as you go to the train station.
I personally do just lather up the full lot. Okay. But
nice and
but that's just me. I'm not going to judge people if in the comments they turn around and go, I don't wash my legs. Unless you work in a swamp or something, then wash your legs.
Yeah, I guess if you're wearing wellies all day, that kind of get up. But I'd love to know, so forget the gaming Stadia news. I'd just love to know, viewers and listeners, all of you new viewers and listeners who've tuned in and thought, what, they get 1,000 views last episode? Let's tune in to see what is actually as interesting to merit.
We've just hit 1,000 views for the first time. Let's get rid of all of them.
Let's get rid of all viewers, all topical conversation, any game-related content. Let's talk about, do you wash your legs in the shower? Let me know in the comments below. Nice and early into the video here. We, of course, will get to the proper news. But I was just curious. Just really curious, because I'd like to know if I should maybe start washing them or not.
You probably should, but if you're going from clean environment to clean environment and you're wearing like clean clothes all the time, a rinse is probably gonna do you fine.
Okay, so slight sidebar then. Do you wash jeans? Like wash them in the washing machine kind of thing?
Not as much as I probably should, but occasionally.
Because I don't think I wash my jeans either, because they always shrink and go ruined. And everyone knows their favourite pair of jeans / pants are ruined once they've been like de-shaped and stuff. Either way, we do digress.
You need to, with jeans, if you wash them, you need to wear them a couple of times around the house before you can go out in them again to let them stretch out a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Don't want to get tight up in certain areas. Anyway, let me know. I'm really curious. All of you thousands of people who tune in, of course, all your audio listeners who listen to us. Don't forget to rate us on Spotify, but also sorry for those graphic images we just put into your head. Sorry, not sorry, as we say. Richie, we may not have done a live stream this week, but we do bring a live stream every single Thursday right here on Helix Cloud Games. We play many Stadia titles, both with the community and chapter story based on our own. We took a break this week, but we will be back, don't we? Regularly scheduled programming will resume. Let us know what you want us to play. If there's a particular title you feel like joining in or we haven't looked at in some time, do jump into our Discord. Link is in the description below. Or on your screen, I guess, if you're looking at this on your phone. And chat with all of us. There's many people. We have a very vibrant Discord. I'm sure with this question, I might drop in there later on. I might drop in later in the week just to see how odd we all are. But don't forget, give that like. Even join if you want to. You can join as a member and get special perks, episodes early, exclusive content, all of that YouTube jazz, which all the bigger channels do, but we do it as well, just on a smaller, cuter scale, some would say. It's cute when you're small. Not a big, crazy behemoth, just a cute little YouTube channel. We're going to rebrand. But I, of course, digress. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us for the first few minutes of the podcast where we don't talk about Stadia or gaming news. But that's what we are here for, Richie, so let's get into what is...
the super sexy special Stadia story segment, a.k.a. The news.
Loads of news this week. Some good, some gooder, some that we're not too sure on, some scary. But let's dive into it. Story number one is, of course, the developer summit that kicked off last Tuesday. We reacted, we watched it live. Richie joined me as we listened to about 50 minutes worth of irrelevant keynote speak of Google for Games, just to get to the juicy, maybe 2-3 minute segment Stadia got at the end of it. But you know what? They talked to us in some capacity. I think we appreciated that. They covered a whole slew of developer-based conversation. They had the little breakdown videos. We realised very quickly we were out of our depth on a technical level.
Yes.
But it's there to
incredibly
watch.
So,
incredibly so. And we're not developers. We watched one of the videos of the guy talking about his adventure through Stadia games, and very quickly you realise this is not our forte. We play games, we talk about games, but we don't make them. So we learn a lesson.
It's kind of what I expected. Although Stadia were going, hey, general consumers should come check this out. It clearly wasn't for us.
No, I think they almost use it as a sidebar to say, look, you're starved. We know that you're starved of information. They've got to know they haven't spoke to us in the last year. We know, they know. Well, so he's a little carrot you can have to kind of chew on until we sort some shit out.
The way I took it is the reason they went a bit pushed this event to the consumers a bit is, I'm guessing it's down to the Google consumer surveys that went out a couple of months ago.
Possibly.
If people have kind of went, we want to know more behind the scenes stuff of what you're working on. You say you're working, developing the new porting tools and stuff. We'd like to know more. This might be the case of, okay, this is a perfect chance to go, yeah, look, we're talking about it. Come check it out.
Certainly.
It's not a consumer event, but you're welcome to check it out.
Yeah, and I think for us as content creators and big Stadia fans, we're obviously gonna hang on the edge of every little morsel we can find that is Stadia related.
In the off chance is the logo in the background that will go, they haven't ported anything to Stadia yet.
Exactly, and we'll do that this very episode. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out, if the videos were a bit over your head, don't worry. We've scoured through. We've picked out the most key pieces of information. done a bit of research and we'll break it all down then. So to start off with, Google Developer Summit. There's been a few articles that have came out of it from The Verge, 9 to 5, Eurogamer. Naturally, the journalists have actually picked up on the back of it. They had a few articles last week regarding the Windows emulation. That wasn't actually an emulation, but we won't go into that here. So to kick things off, Richie, I think the biggest thing they showcased with the Developer Summit was probably the announcement of click-to-play trials. So we've kind of knew about click-to-play for many, like well over a year now, as far as I'm aware. But
click to pay was one of the features they first announced at GDC. Like the whole idea they announced as if you're watching a YouTube video or like someone's playing a game or it's just even an advert, you can just click on the link, go straight to the storefront and be jumped in seconds.
Yeah, and it works. It essentially, it's worked for ages. We've done it. We do it every week in the chat almost. We drop a link in, people can join our game and they can play. They did get up on stage and speak about the transfer rate for developers. So if you have a game on a free click-to-play trial, the click-through rate's 35%, the play conversion is apparently 70%, which is better than an actual, like, an advert to say, come and buy this game now. Because I guess it's the path of least resistance. There's a link and you're playing the game before you've even got a second to think about signing up. It's
the difference between someone showing you a game going, would you like to have a go?
Yeah, it totally is. And we've said from the beginning, the fact that you don't have to download an 80 gigabyte file, you don't have to wait for that day one patch. It takes down so many barriers. That's one of the best features about cloud gaming. And we're spoilt. I know we joked when we both picked up Horizon Forbidden West, and you hit with that day one patch and update, and you think, I just want to play it straight like now.
I think it was like 2 hours. Like 2 hours.
I don't want to segment.
It might have been even longer for me because I bought the PS4 version. So technically, I had to install the PS4 version, so I could install the PS5 version.
Yeah, which is backwards in its own right, but it just shows you the ease of access. So it's interesting that they focused on talking about that. Really, I think the biggest thing they announced from that was really the Risk of Rain 2 is going to have a click-to-play free trial. They fed back and said it's live now. They mentioned that off the back of this, they took loads of feedback from the devs when they ran other promotions for Control and other titles, and it's great to see that they're seeing a clear conversion rate. I guess that actually, if you put your title on click-to-play, there is definitive statistics that show it works. It works well. That's a great selling point.
I think Risk of Rain's a good one for this as well, actually, with it being like a roguelike. So you can, there's no like, it doesn't really have that same sort of like progression that something like an Assassin's Creed, this big title have. If you think about playing Assassin's Creed, it's a couple of hours before you really get into the game.
Yeah.
Risk of Rain, you're just in.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of thinking about this the way as test out, see if cloud gaming works for your particular set home network system, it's a good way if you can just jump straight in.
Yep, completely. And of course, free trial for Risk of Rain. The time limits on it, I'm guessing they're by developer's choice. They can do it for half an hour to an hour. And
I believe that's the case, yeah.
Do you think there's anything in place for limiting? Because I believe OnLive back in the day had people kind of just making new accounts and having another free trial. They're just spamming it, but I don't feel like you're really going to benefit from that because you're starting anew every time.
Yeah, well, this is it. I think what there'll probably be is Google will probably have a cap on how many free hours a developer can put. But there again, it's in the developer's best interest to not just give their game away for free either.
Yeah.
So,
certainly.
And if you wanted, if even if say, let's go for Assassin's Creed. Let's go for CD Projekt. Say CD Projekt Red says you can have the first hour of Cyberpunk for free.
Yeah.
What's the benefit in just like starting the game an hour later, making a new account and starting the game, and then a new account? Your save's not going to carry, so that's it. You get an hour.
Yeah, there's obviously there's loads of stuff to tweak, but it was an interesting one to kick off because it's a concept we were obviously well aware of, but they really wanted to push it. Maybe so with the success they've seen with the other titles, it makes sense for them to push this as actually, if you want players to engage with your content, this is this arguably is one of the best ways to do it because it removes that barrier. And you know what? Even if they click to play it on Stadia and then go and buy it on another storefront through Xbox or PlayStation, the developers have won either way. They don't lose out in these scenarios.
Well, I can see Ubisoft benefit from this quite well, actually. Because, I want to try out the new Assassin's Creed. I don't have a PlayStation. I can just try it out for an hour on Stadia. oh wait, I can get Ubisoft Plus.
Well, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I get Ubisoft Plus, and then you're into the Ubisoft ecosystem, and Ubisoft don't care what platform you're playing on.
no, like you could start it on Stadia, and because of the way Ubisoft Connect works, is you could just sack off Stadia, go buy it on PlayStation, or play it via PC on Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm really enjoying this game. You know what? I will go buy that Xbox.
Yeah, and get it.
You could just play it on Stadia, but
again, people have their preferences. So yeah, click to play. Yeah. It's there. They did announce that it will be coming with more titles later in the year. So look forward to seeing more free trials, I guess. We should say we do get a lot of free weekends. There is a free weekend just gone at the time this show goes live. There's another free weekend for Rainbow Six Siege. So trialing these things out are fast and frequent in the world of Stadia right now.
I think the idea with the click to play trials rather than like the free weekends, where I think the free weekends are very much a business decision. Google sits down with a team, whoever, like say we'll go for Ubisoft. Oh, we want to do a free weekend for XDefiant. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can work that out. With the click to play trials, from what I understand, Google kind of has gone, yeah, if you want this guys, if it's there, if you want it to the developers, like you can just probably. I think the developers could probably just switch this on or off at their leisure. Yeah. So I think it's just one of them. It's a bit more. I mean, hands off from Google.
Yeah,
like, this is a feature. This is a feature that's there for developers. Go for it.
Yeah. Well, once the coding is there, and if they have free reign to just flick the switch on and off, if they see a spike in promotional content, or there's maybe a season pass drop coming in the imminent weeks. Like, what a great time to put Assassin's Creed on a free weekend when you just got Dawn of Ragnarok launching. So it's again, it's all marketing, and it's an interesting way of doing it. But again, the less barriers, the better for entry. But that was how the kick started off the little segment as part of it. They then moved on to low changing ports, which I think was the part of the developer tools segment. This was when they pivoted really to talking direct to developers and said, look, we've got partners. We're doing a lot with this. They've unveiled it. It's titled Low Change Porting. They discussed basically the DirectX translation being easier, improved Unity and Unreal Engine support, cloud testing up in the air en masse without impacting your core build of the video game, which we've kind of knew about for some time that they were working on that. There's a few videos off the back of the Dev Summit that focus on exactly what they're doing. That video about Stadia Adventure, what we watched, that's what the guy was saying, is he found a bug and then he spent 20 minutes explaining it, which went right over our heads.
Yeah,
but
completely.
But it just shows you that there's little niggles in the pipeline still.
Yeah, low change point. This is what a lot of media outlets were thinking was going to be Windows emulation. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of media outlets just decided they're just going to have like a Windows emulated layer on top of the Linux base that Stadia is built on. So you don't could just come just straight across. But it looks like it's a system of development tools that will mean that you don't have to change the game much at all.
Yeah.
So changing between, I think from Vulkan to DirectX is going to be pretty seamless. So, in terms of how much hands-on a developer has to be to make that port. Mm-hmm. But it's not a case of you can just take the .exe file that you have for Windows and go, there you go.
Yeah, it's not quite
not quite there yet.
It's not quite a copy and a paste job. But the tools will improve, and when we sit here this time next year at the next Developer Summit, they'll have had another whole year of additional tweaks and modifications and stuff to go into it. So it's great, and I think we said going into this developer conference, we set our expectations. I'm sure there was a lot of people still disappointed. But the reality is, if they're talking to developers, this is putting the groundwork in to bring more titles with as least risk as possible.
Yeah, I've said a couple of times when it comes to stuff like low change porting, the easier it is for developers to put the game on the platform, and the less costly it is to the developer to do it, the more likely they are to do it. The main problem with Stadia is the lack of player base. The only way to grow that is to get more games on it. So by making it easier to get games, you're going to get more games come across, because developers can go, well, actually, these now a return on investment for them. We're not spending a month of our developers' time converting the game over. It's now down to a week.
That's it. Yeah, if you can trim down even just that labor cost,
and it's not 5 guys, it's 1 guy. So 1 guy can do it in a week. Potentially, what 5 guys might have done in a month. That's a massive savings. So you know what? We can afford to take the risk to have that 1 guy do it.
Yeah, and then they can get back to making burgers in the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, they were just pure random numbers off the top of my head. I'm not saying this like, yeah, like, well, to pause from Stadia, they were used to use 5 guys and take a month, and then now it takes 1 guy for a week. Like, that was just an example, like how it like improves the workflow.
Yeah, and what did come interestingly off the back of that was the low change porting list of initial porting partners. So they did the classic thing at presentations when they plaster the screen with a couple of logos and everyone looks, and we quickly scrutinized, and we're going to do that now. So for everyone at home who wasn't aware, they showcased several logos up on screen, all of them too familiar, a couple maybe not so much because their logos are bad, but we'll look into that. First up was Wired Productions, which we know very, very recently. Even in the last few weeks, we've had next up on Stadia community blog posts. The titles we have currently on the platform was the Falconeer Warrior Edition. We have the new upcoming game Lumo, which we're going to talk about later in the show. Deliver Us the Moon was announced last week. They also dealt with Avicii. And last week's podcast, we reported that Those Who Remain was also rated on ESRB. So Wired Productions ramping up production very, very recently. So no surprises there. We know about those titles. Next up was Handy Games, which we know from the SpongeBob Rehydrated port, Chicken Police in the last few months. We had Little Big Workshop, one of our favourite original games, Spitlings, from back in the day, Richie. One Hand Clapping, out of early access, and El Hijo. So they've got a couple of games. We do know as well, Scarf is probably on the horizon because our friend John over at 4Scar Gaming, he had the whole press pack sent out to him in preparation for Stadia, and then it all got kind of hush-hushed. So that's a title from Handy Games on the horizon.
There was a point as well where we thought that they were going to announce Scarf, and they just actually announced Chicken Police instead.
Mm-hmm.
But
didn't get their chickens in a row, or ducks in a row, as they say with that one. So Handy Games we're all too well aware of. Nakon was the next one up, which I said is got the worst logo. It's just a snake. Logo looks cool, but it doesn't tell you who the company is.
It's not the problem is because we didn't recognise the logo. It wasn't identifiable, and it took us literally about 10-15 minutes worth of digging to find out who they were and what they make.
Yeah,
so
you found it just
when we say a bad logo, I mean a logo is there to represent your company. It should be identifiable to who you are. It's like our Helix Cloud game logo has the words Helix Cloud Games in it for that reason.
Yeah, but I've reached out with my friends at Stadia Source, and they hit it. They found it just as quick as you did. They've got Hunting Simulator on Stadia at the moment. They do publish a bunch of other titles. Heading into the rest of the year, for me, they are publishing the upcoming Gollum game, the Lord of the Rings Gollum game, of course. Not Warner Brothers published, so it might be a little bit interesting, but as a Lord of the Rings fan, fingers crossed. They also do Vampire Masquerade, World Rally Championship, and a few sports titles in line with Cricket 2022 and Rugby 2022. So we may not see anything more from them, depending on how easy the port for, I guess, Hunting Simulator was. But I can't imagine they put these relationships up on screen without having something in the future. It seems them daft talking about Nakon, and they're talking about a game that we got earlier this year and it's already out and probably hasn't sold that many.
At a consumer event, I'd probably agree. With this being a developer event, they have partnered with these companies, so they're also kind of saying, like, if I'm a developer watching that, you've now just given me a list of studios I can now contact if I want to know more about their experience. Yeah,
it also seems odd talking about a relationship if it's ended.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, we love our partners at Nakon. We're not working with them currently. We did 3 months ago, but... So, something has to be in the pipeline for that one. The biggest, or the most interesting one, I guess, out of these was Steelwool Studios. For those who aren't aware, they don't have any games currently on Stadia. But, looking at their list of titles, they don't do that much. However, the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise is arguably their biggest by far, of course. Not really one for me, but I know it caught an entire generation by craze a few years back.
Yeah, and it's still a massive thing in certain parts of the internet. I've honestly never seen the appeal at all. I think it looks shit, to be honest.
It's just jump scares, right?
It's probably going to be on the thumbnail for this episode.
I mean, it might be. It might very well be. Who knows? I haven't thought about that yet. But yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. It's not like I would say it's like a massive franchise, but it's a well-known franchise. And again,
I mean, if it comes, we're probably going to do a stream of it.
We are probably. You can do that one. I did the last horror game. But yeah, we've got that one. Moving on, we had Legacy games. Legacy games you'll be familiar more recently. We've got the Adam Wolf game that went on Pro. We've got the City Legends Curse of Something that's due out in early spring. So those were those click and point mobile games, so not too fussed on them. Paradox Interactive was another logo. We know we're getting City Skylines imminently. That was announced last week. We talked about it on last week's show. The other titles they do is Crusader Kings and Surviving Mars, which was actually one of my... I theorised that last week, that Surviving Mars would be another great PC mouse and keyboard port. So fingers crossed it means more than just City Skylines.
That was in SideQuest, wasn't it?
Possibly, yeah. It was in one of the shows we did.
Yeah.
We do so many shows. Yeah, go watch SideQuest as well.
Podcasts.
Around the world. Milestone Studios was up next. They're familiar with the MotoGP games, the Monster Energy Supercross. Funnily enough, though, we didn't get MotoGP 22, as far as I'm aware. We didn't get the last Monster Supercross Energy Booster Flying Car Mobile Drink game. But they do have on their roster Hot Wheels Unleashed, which there's something about Hot Wheels Unleashed. It reviewed well. It's a kart racer where, like Micro Machines, which, if you remember, I loathed the last entry in the Micro Machines franchise.
Yeah, you did.
Codemasters done fucked up with that version of the game. It's a great title and they ruined it. However, Micro Machines seem to have picked up where it's like a crazy, wacky kart racer in a shrunken world of Hot Wheels toys with loop-de-loops and ramps and all that kind of stuff. So, Milestone, don't know what you're doing. It's a bit weird that they haven't ported this year's iteration of Monster Energy and MotoGP across. I know that disappointed a lot of Stadia fans out there, and rightly so, for an annualized franchise to not come the following year is a big disappointment, and that's I think
not a good look for the platform.
It's not. It's lost a lot of credibility, I think, with Stadia players who are kind of like. And again, same for me. If FIFA doesn't come this year, I will be hugely disappointed.
And again, I think one of the strengths actually with Stadia was the racing community. Mm-hmm. The racing community seemed to did flock to Stadia a bit.
Yeah,
it did seem to be quite a strong niche, but then when you start missing titles,
we've just lost out on Grid Legends that launched the other week as well. That's another blow, so we'll see. Moving on with the list, though, we had Saber Interactive. They are working on the upcoming World War Z Aftermath, which we know is coming. Winter ends next week, so we might be in luck. It may be coming this very week, or they're going to miss the deadline of what we describe. And Google itself, our friend Adam, Original Penguin over on Twitter, did actually post out a few screenshots I saw earlier today, Googling when is winter, and it's got the Google's response of 26th of March. What's today's date? The 18th of March, and yeah, brilliant, good fun. We know that's coming. However, for me, obviously we like to dig a little bit deeper, Richie. Saber Interactive, also the guys who are working on the upcoming Space Marine 2 game, which we actually raved about during the Game Awards when it was announced. We got a big surprise on that. The Crisis Remaster trilogy that we were hoping would come, with it being a collection, didn't come. For me, Ghostbusters Remastered game, love the Ghostbusters game. It's a spiritual successor to the third movie that never happened. Obviously, we've got the movie now. That can happen. I digress. But the biggest thing, and I hope, for me and all of you fans out there, Saber Interactive worked on the Witcher 3 next-gen ports. They worked on the port to Nintendo Switch, and they worked on the port that's coming out later this year to PS5 and Xbox Series XS. I hope that means, with the great relationship CD Projekt Red clearly had with Stadia, the great port for Cyberpunk they had, this would be a massive hit for the end of summer going into autumn if we got Witcher 3 on Stadia. I would love to dive into it.
Witcher 3 would be a great get.
Yeah.
I know it's technically now an older title.
It's classic, nearly.
But it's still the best Witcher game.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's a great game. Like, it holds up well.
It does, and it's a franchise that is going to have a boon every time Henry Cavill dons the outfit and drops another season on Netflix. Well,
you saw, like, was it when the first Witcher series came out, the massive spike on people playing it on Steam?
Yeah, it was like 120%, I think, increase, like, week on week just for that. And he's committed to 5 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. So we know Cavill's in it. We know he's a gamer. He might even play Stadia, for all we know. Yeah. But that's the big one for me, I think, of the full list of games.
He's a PC doc.
I mean, you can play Stadia on PC, right?
To be fair, I watched a stream of him before actually building his own PC.
Yeah, I think everyone did. Both men and women are like, do you think he washes
King
his legs
of the
in the
nerds
shower?
Right there.
Does he wash his legs in the shower?
Probably. He probably shaves them.
Probably has someone to do it.
Probably not when he's Geralt, but probably when he's Superman.
You've got to get in that latex costume. And then finally, we had Team 17 propping up the list of logos. Of course, Team 17, from last week's community announcement, we're getting Overcooked All You Can Eat, and we're getting Golf with Friends. We're also, I'm hoping, actually, to get a Worms game eventually. And Hell Let Loose, which was actually a PlayStation Plus game a few months back. A very realistic war shooter where you actually, if you get hit, Richie, you're down. It's not one of them where you've got a life bar and you can use med kits. You're very much, you're in the war zone, you're out. Very realistic. No HUD, no display. It's just you in a forest taking objectives. But yeah, if you get shot, no mini-map, you're done.
I used to actually play, back in the Call of Duty 4 days, I used to actually play in hardcore. I actually preferred it to like the normal mode because when you shot someone, they died.
Yeah.
Like
they can't do a quick 360 no-scope headshot on you and you're like, I shot you 3 times before you got me. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to think I could take 3 bullets, but I'd pretty much think 1 and down.
No, you can't.
No human being can do that. Maybe Henry Cavill could. But we digress. That's the list of ports. Any particular big ones for you, Richie? Gollum, Surviving Mars, Witcher 3? What's
obviously,
your
I'm a big Witcher 3 fan, so let's just put that one aside. We've already talked about City Skylines and Overcooked. I'm going to go with, of the ones out of this list that I'd be most excited to see, out of the ones I'm just going to put off the side because everyone knows listening to this that I would love to see, I'm going to go for Gollum.
Gollum game.
I think as a Lord of the Rings fan,
yep,
I'd like to see that come to Stadia.
Yeah.
Even if I can't have the West logo.
And it's kind of different enough. I feel like it's one that Stadia would go for this year. Like,
yeah,
we're not going to get the big AAA titles, but you know what? You're making a weird off-brand Lord of the Rings game. The Amazon series comes out later this year. Yeah, let's just take it on the back of that.
Or Space Marine 2. I'll give Space Marine 2 a go as well.
I would as well. And a part of the OG game. But do let us know in the comments below. Add it as an additional to your leg washing comment. Add it in what game you would love to see ported from these teams.
So far, your homework is, do you wash your legs in the shower? What game are you most looking forward to out of this list?
Exactly. They then went on to discuss affiliate marketing a little bit more. They talked about the unique click-to-play links and the partner incentives. Essentially, if you can convert somebody from jumping into Stadia Pro, you get $10 per person you convert. It's very business lingo talk. It doesn't really mean anything to us as a player.
Oh, that's on top of anything you'd get for them actually playing the game.
Yeah, true. You get obviously the monetized point for that as well. But affiliate marketing, again, it's the program. We've kind of knew about this for a while. I think they mentioned it at a previous showcase somewhere. But I feel like might have even been last year's developer summit. But now they might have actually rolled it out and they're able to fiddle with the numbers a little bit and give you an honest look at what you're making up. But for me, the biggest news was the white labeling. We knew about it from the Business Insider article a few weeks back. We've knew about it, of course, from the AT&T story that dropped. But they've kind of came out and officially not only announced it to developers, but also rebranded it, which was a bit of a surprise. They rebranded it as their direct-to-consumer focus as Immersive Stream for Games, which I actually preferred Google Stream. But obviously they want to separate.
I prefer Google's... The thing is, this is not consumer focused in lingo anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I think the problem with Google Stream is it's probably a bit too vague.
Yeah.
Immersive Stream for Games, it's got games in it, so like when they're talking about it internally, when they're talking about it with partners, you know you're talking about the gaming element of Google Stream. Might be their still internal branding for a more general thing.
That is true.
Because technically YouTube is Google Stream.
Yeah, very true. And Immersive Stream for Games is its new title. So it's official. They're marketing it. Of course, we knew about the conversations they had with Bungie, Capcom. We clearly know about the AT&T one. Not really much more to add other than they are actively now out there promoting it. And they said they've got news to talk about as the year goes on regarding that. And then they handed over to the head of AT&T to kind of sing his praises of congratulations to Google. You guys have done a great job. We're proud to be partners of your program, which, again, it's a good bit of synergy between the two like massive companies. Of course, AT&T own the Warner Brothers license, so they are actively working on lots of interesting IP that ticks my boxes.
I think this was the bit where, as a consumer and a Stadia fan, you're just like, white labeling's not great for us, to be fair. because we want all of our games in one place on Stadia.
Yeah.
But there again, this is the moment where you have to remember this conference is not for us as consumers.
Yeah,
this is for developers, and developers are going to be interested in this.
Yeah, there's a few people in the chat when we watched it along, because we had over 60 people tune in and watch along with us, and there was a couple of people who maybe who got the wrong end of the stick with what this conference was for, getting quite agitated at the news and why is it talking? It's making me sound like I'm a number and they're just trying to squeeze money out of me. And it's kind of, you do have to take a step back
because
and go,
they're not talking to you.
That's what it's about. They're trying to sell this business to a business to make money. It's B2B conferencing we're literally watching right now. It's not boring. It's not fun. It's boring conversation to us because we just want to play games. So you were kind of probably in the wrong expectations with that one. But AT&T did come out, sing its praises, say they were delighted to bring Arkham Knight. They've had thousands of players dive into the world of Batman at 60 frames, 1080p. And more importantly, they're going to bring another game later this year. So I'll throw it over to you, Richie. Which WB AT&T game do you think we'll see next on this white labelling, click-to-play kind of deal?
I mean, it could be another one of the Arkham games. That's entirely possible. I've got a feeling with AT&T being a phone provider, I'm going to stay away from like more like a family oriented game like Lego, where I think it's going to be more aimed at something. I'm going to go with Hogwarts Legacy.
So you'd think free to AT&T customers?
It'd be a great promotion for AT&T.
Yeah.
Like imagine like you can see the adverts now like, oh, if you want to play Hogwarts Legacy, come down to your local AT&T store. I don't know if they got them or not. And get yourself a new contract with us.
Yeah. It's marketing, right? Like I know over here in the...
It's brand new game from a AAA IP, free to play, and all you have to do is have a phone contract with us. Yeah. You've got phone contract anyway. Why not with us?
There's your free promo.
See how it works. And I think that carries a bit more weight than Lego.
Yeah, and we know these deals happen. They do all the time. We've said many times about Stadia promotions here on the channel. Over in the UK, I got my Razer Kishi because there was a mobile network in the UK ran a promotion. They gave them free away with Game Pass with a Samsung Galaxy something, and the marketplace on Facebook was flooded with them. So I picked mine up for like £30 instead of £80 because there was so many in the wild. I think that is a terrific proposition. You're completely right, Richie. If you're a big Harry Potter fan, if you're a Hogwarts Legacy fan, and you're looking to play this game, you can either buy it over here for $70 to $80, whatever the price is, or if you're an AT&T customer or you're thinking about renewing your mobile contract, get it for free as an AT&T customer and just play it via any link.
I mean, there's been some interesting conversations in our Discord about white labelling, but the problem I think with it, from this, like, if you're an existing AT&T customer and you get a text saying, he's Hogwarts Legacy for free, you can just jump straight in, plug whatever controller you got lying around into your phone, and you can play. That's great for AT&T. It's great for that consumer. Mm-hmm. The problem is, because it's white label, it literally doesn't have Google's branding anywhere on it. So you don't realise you're playing this game technically on Stadia is hardware. Yeah. So that's not going to convert that person to then play Stadia.
Yeah, and
very well.
This is where I think the negotiation could do some, like if they have AT&T stores, get some Premier editions in the stores as like a promotion. If you buy your phone, there's your free option to play Batman or Hogwarts Legacy. By the way, if you want to buy a controller, we sell them on site. Like it's just a bit of internal, external marketing.
On whatever the AT&T storefront looks like, or however you interact with it, just have it in the bottom of something powered by Google Stadia.
Because Richie, you actually got your PlayStation 5 in the UK via your mobile network.
Yeah, my network is EE, and I got a tip off from a friend who works there, who told me that they were doing a limited run where you could add it as a bolt-on to your contract. It was basically an interest-free loan for a year.
Yeah,
so like it just took the price of a PS5 disc version, divided by 12, and stuck it under my contract.
Yeah, and again,
so that's how I funded it.
And again,
that's how I got hold of one.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Stock limitations.
It's like when I heard about that, I just jumped straight on that. I was like, "Well, I'm buying it anyway." I wasn't planning on buying it straight away. Like I got it. I was planning to wait 6 months or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I can just get it now and just spread the costs.
Yeah. And imagine if these promotions work.
Interest free, so it costs me no more than if I went to a store and picked up one.
Yeah. And imagine if these promotions can work both ways for all companies involved, but very special to AT&T. I do want to point out a little retcon ritual right in the middle of the show. Last week I said WWE was coming to EE.
I know. I actually noticed that when you said it. I just let it go because I'm sure I've made that.
I noticed in the post production when I was editing it, and then there was no way of me really. I thought, do I put it up on screen? But I thought no one will notice, and people did.
Just put a massive A in front of your face.
It just happens to be the mobile network I'm on. So yes, it must have been in my head. I was thinking of a new
Freudian slip.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not WWE isn't coming to the UK mobile network. It's actually possibly going to EA Sports.
Yeah, I think everyone knew.
Yeah, everyone knew, definitely. It's a big coup for EA if they manage to swipe the WWE license away from 2K, I guess. Which, weirdly enough, they do have WWE on BT Sport, which is part of the same company. But I digress. Moving on then, we've got AT&T. We'll see what they do. Again, I'm just internally disappointed that if these games never come to Stadia, but they're running on Stadia tech, it's just kind of another kick in the teeth a little bit when the game is actively running on Stadia, just with a different link. It's literally a code, Richie, that's keeping it out of the storefront. But
it's one of them, as a Stadia consumer, is like, does Google not value enough to try and negotiate a bit harder to make them bring it across?
Yeah, but we digress. And that was kind of it for the Dev Summit for this year. No game announcements, as we knew, but there's always those little seeds that are planted. And I think the biggest thing for both you and me, and a lot of our audience after the back of it, said this was great. It was a bit more insight into some kind of future roadmap. However, as a consumer, a gamer, and a fan of Stadia, you need to follow this up with some kind of consumer connect or event for us. I'm not a developer. I know that. I'm not a business. I know that. But you know what I am? Someone who spends money on your product. You need to tell me, not just the developers, why I should invest in Stadia for the future. So
yeah, I mean, when I think back on it, it's like, I don't think there was a lot there that kind of told developers why they should. There's a lot of stuff going, this is how we're making it easier for you, but not a huge amount going, this is why you should bring your game over.
Yeah, but you know what? If it drives new people, Stadia.dev, go check it out. Anyone out there listening who is a developer, bring your game across. We'd love to play it. Got a fantastic community here, and we'll certainly play your games. Pivoting in a different direction, Richie, kind of in the opposite direction, away from Stadia talk, we got the interesting drop this week that Supermassive Games, of course famous for Until Dawn and their current Dark Pictures anthology, announced their new game. And it's not coming to Stadia, but the reason we bring it up, of course, is because this very much probably was a Stadia game at some point. Announced this week, The Quarry is a new horror title from Supermassive Games. It's a spiritual successor, apparently, to Until Dawn. It features an all-star cast as a teen horror game where players control 9 different characters and they try to survive the last night of summer camp. And just like Until Dawn, anyone can live and anyone can die. The game promises groundbreaking interactive storytelling in an unpredictable night of horror with plenty of flirting and fear as relationships between characters are built and broken through intense player-based choices. The director said it has up to 12 potential different deaths. He said The Quarry, just like Until Dawn, has a circular story, and one in each of those characters has a spoke heading towards the middle, meaning each of the spokes can be broken without affecting the rest of the narrative. So for anyone out there who's played Until Dawn, it's similar to, I would say, a Telltale game. Plenty of different branching paths for it to end in, but visually beautiful, always beautiful. And yeah, the all-star cast for this, they've got some like David Arquette from Scream, you've got in there. You've got Justice Smith from Detective Pikachu in Jurassic World. Ted Raimi, who's Sam Raimi's brother, the Spider-Man director, randomly in there as well. And a bunch of other big names to bring the kind of all-star cast. Because, of course, Until Dawn had like Hayden Panettiere and the guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a couple of other lesser-known actors in there as well. But the reason we bring it up is we know Supermassive had a deal with Google Stadia. Funnily enough, they were plastered. Their logo was plastered on I think the initial Phil Harrison GDC announcement. They were going to work with them to bring a game that was unique to the cloud. In the way I read this, in the way I know how Until Dawn plays, I feel like this would have been crowd choice in some way, shape, or form.
It feels right, yeah. I could see a stream of people like this being crowd choice, and it'd be a real shame if this is the game, the Quarry is the game that was planned like in partnership with Google Stadia, and Google backed out to the point where I can see them backing out going, you know what, we're no longer going to fully fund this as much as we were. Sorry guys, you can take it elsewhere, it doesn't have to be exclusive. But if they've backed off to the point where we're just not getting it at all, it's like, come on Google, like seriously. It sounds like a really cool game.
And again,
coming out at the wrong time of the year though, but that aside.
Is it June?
Yeah, June, because people want to play horror games in the middle of summer. Like,
it is summer. It is summer camp, though.
Yeah.
It's set in summer camp, where that makes a difference. But of course, they've not officially confirmed or denied it. But you can read between the lines on this one. The game comes out this June, which means it's been in development for probably two or more years at this point. It's not part of the Dark Pictures anthology, which is a deal with Bandai Namco to do I think it's a 12 mini series of games every.
Which I completely forget exists.
Yeah, and then they're well reviewed though. They're well reviewed, and Until Dawn is great. I'm actually very surprised Sony hasn't acquired Supermassive as as a first party studio yet, because again, Until Dawn was a PlayStation exclusive. Yeah, so it's on the cusp of being out, which means it's been in development for pretty much all of Stadia's lifetime, which makes me think, this lines up with that. As I said, it's 2K doing a new relationship out of nowhere. It almost seems like these companies have never worked together before. So my guess is Stadia went, or Supermassive went, right, we're not. This isn't working. Google went, right, go do your own thing. We don't care.
Well, this might have been Google Stadia Games and Entertainment if they were the publisher.
I think it was.
And then when they've closed down the studios, Supermassive went, well, we need a publisher now. Yeah.
And they've shipped it around. And Bandai Namco obviously already had their Dark Pictures anthology. Some others may not have been interested. Again, surprising, PlayStation didn't want to pick it up as like an exclusive similar to Until Dawn. But
and how well the Dark Pictures are selling, if they're not selling great. As I said, I forget there's even a thing from time to time. It's like,
again, they do sell quite well. Man of Medan. And I can't remember what the other one's called. I know there's one on a fishing boat. That might be that one. Something Souls. Actually, I know all of the titles got leaked a few weeks ago. So if you want to know what the next episodic things are, I'm sure there's a list of I think the logo's got copyright leaked or something. But we digress. It's just a shame because this would have been arguably an exclusive AAA title, but now it just seems like another big game coming out this year that we're going to miss out on. Well, we're not, because I'm probably going to play it on my PlayStation, but Stadia players and exclusive players are going to miss out on. Just think of what could have been, Richie. What could have been. Do you think you'll be playing it, or do you think we'll wait till Halloween and then maybe play it with our friends?
Probably Halloween, play with friends, potentially. I'm not going to go... It sounds pretty cool, but I'm not going to go out my way to play it.
Yeah, probably the same. Looks gorgeous, though. Whatever engine they're running over there, like a lot of these actors and some of the shots look like you get a bit of an uncanny valley, but at the same time, gorgeous.
But the thing is, when this uncanny valley starts coming in, that's when you know you're getting to the close to the point where people look really enough, so your brain's having problems distinguishing.
Yeah, very true. You just got to look at the stuff they're doing with Star Wars. And
it's almost a weird positive, like oh my god, this is so good. That my brain's confused. My
brain can't hack it. But I tell you what,
Yeah.
Your brain will be able to hack, and that will be another pro game. We got a random pro game announcement in the middle of March, not for April, believe it or not. We found out that Lumos from Wire Productions, which we aforementioned in the show, with the little underwater sea creature puzzle solving madness, is coming to Stadia Pro on the 1st of May. It gives you a chance to dive into the open world of evolving challenges for players who enjoy that kind of puzzle take. We actually thought the game looked really pretty and quite interesting a few weeks back when it got rated for Stadia.
Again, this is one I'm glad it's coming to Pro, because I might actually jump in.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely give it a look. I'm pretty sure it might only be one player, but of course we can do our core stream and try and solve those puzzles together. Quite odd that we're getting a Pro announcement for the month after next. Obviously, if the game's not ready in time, that's no surprise. But
and it's also not an announcement of this game, so it's like it's a second announcement of the game. Come to Pro, so it makes you wonder, like, did they need a second game to put in? They wanted to do like an announcement for the game we're going to talk about next, and just needed something else to put into the blog.
Quite possibly.
But I mean, it's good news. We know what we're getting. It looks cool.
Yeah.
So.
Well, elsewhere in the internet of the world, I think the Wired Productions actually said the game has been delayed after the Stadia announcement's coming 1st of May. Well, that might have been Elemental War 2. Scratch that. Moving on to Elemental War 2, funnily enough. Next up, as part of the new OS. Again, Richie, really appreciating these Next Up on Stadia blog posts. It feels like every third of the week we get kind of like a drop of, new game, or update on a certain game. Loving the communication. Keep it up. Stadia social.
It's weird. They went from going, we're going to take a step back in terms of communication, give you like what was it called this week on Stadia fortnightly, and now they're going, every week we'll just give you this. We'll give you basically what we wanted from that thing anyway.
Yeah, it's
he's info about a game. Like, cool.
In the rebranded Nuos. Give us more Nuos. So yes, Elemental War 2 was rated a couple of weeks back. It's now confirmed, coming May the 6th, so not too long to wait again. Not as a pro title, but May the 6th nonetheless. Spin on the popular tower defense game, powerful items, solo or co-op, and of course you deal with hordes of enemies in a very classic defense. What's it called? Tower defense game? That's the style.
Yeah, it's tower defense. Like, I mean, we do have one tower defense on Stadia at the moment. Orcs Must Die. But that's kind of an action tower defense where it is a tower defense, but you also play as a character in the world. I think this is more of a traditional tower defense.
Yeah,
where you kind of like you're the god hand putting in like towers and stuff.
Yeah,
I like tower defense. They are generally just great fun.
Yeah, they are, and again, it's a kind of another style we've got coming. So
I'm going to bet direct touch on this.
Yeah, would work very, very well. So lots of monsters pouring out of hell through a summon portal, and you're going to fight them all off in Elemental War 2. We shall see. Moving on. This summer is going to be a little bit quieter with the old video game announcement E3 front, because EA have announced that their EA Play event, not to be confused with EA Play, their monthly subscription service, is not coming. Usually they kind of sidebar E3 with their own little presentation in a different conference area, hosted by Greg Miller, I think, for the last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken.
It was Xavier Woods, Austin Krieg, last year. The previous 2 years was Greg Miller of Kind of Funny.
Oh, well, not this year, because it's been not cancelled, I guess. It's just not been announced. EA have announced that they're not going to be there this year, because they do love, and I quote, reads straight from an IGN article, "We love EA Play Live, as it's our way of connecting with our players and sharing what's new with you all. However, this year, things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. We have exciting things happening at our world-class studios, and this year we'll reveal much more about these projects when the time is right for each of them. We look forward to spending time with you throughout the year." So it sounds like, Richie, EA are just breaking away from tradition, and it feels like, similar to PlayStation a little bit, they're going to have their conferences as and when specifically focused on individual titles, which I don't think is a bad choice. Now we're in a virtual digital world.
I don't think it's a bad choice either. The thing is, as much as I do enjoy E3 and Summer Games Fest and things like that, and even the Game Awards, you see there's a lot goes on in a short period of time, and things get missed. Where if you have more smaller events, if you have like an event where like it's a 10-minute event, you have one big title and maybe throw in a couple of others, it's a bit more focused, so you're going to get more on it. And the EA stuff is like half of it's the sports games, which, I mean, I do like FIFA, but I don't care about the FIFA announcements, because like it's FIFA. I know what FIFA's about. Like, I'll Google the specific differences and read an article for 5 minutes for that info.
Yeah,
it's not going to sell or not sell the game to me. The announcement.
Indeed, I think you're very right.
I think we might be actually looking as well. This might be the effect of COVID if the games are just not as far along as they hoped.
Yeah, I think it's more akin to your previous point, where the EA own that many licenses, like massive like money making things, but they don't really go together. And you're totally right. Like, if I'm a Star Wars fan looking for the next Jedi Fallen Order update, I might not give two shits about football or Madden or like I might not like racing. I might not like. Again, they're very distinct franchises unto themselves. Like very much the leaders in certain aspects in genres. But yeah, you're right. I don't want to sit through 20 minutes of FIFA if I'm there waiting for Star Wars. If I'm a big shooter Apex Legends fan, I might not care about Madden or Codemasters racing games. So it probably is better to just dedicate 20 minutes at a time throughout the year. More eyes on you for these dedicated events. And let's face it, a lot of their franchises kind of lean up with different parts of the year. FIFA probably needs to drop in line with this football season. Jedi Fallen Order, Disney are probably going to want to announce at Disney Celebration in May. A Star Wars Celebration.
To be honest, the summer might even be a bit early for like digging into FIFA, because FIFA doesn't usually come out to like, is it like November usually?
No, they've got it early now. It's usually September, I think.
Is it? But, that's it. But
and then on Stadia, we sometimes
I don't think you need to like start pushing this game hard in like June, July.
Yeah, because you start detracting from your current buyers.
Yeah,
with a seasonal thing. But yeah, like I said, we've got Dead Space remake coming up as well, so they might be focusing like a 20-minute presentation just for Dead Space, maybe leading into Halloween would be great.
Yeah,
Star Wars at Star Wars Celebration in the summer. You feed off the back of all the Obi-Wan Kenobi buzz, and it just feels like splitting it up could actually better place it. If you've got a racing game out, maybe drop it before the Formula 1 season starts. Like, there's just so many wheels in motion, pun intended. And that it could be better. It's a shame they're not going to be there, but
you don't even have to split up into we're just going to focus on one individual game per event. What you could do is go, right, okay, racing fans, this one's going to be for you, and you cover everything that things like Codemasters are working on. Sports fans, here we go, get your footy boots on. We're talking FIFA, we're talking Madden.
Cleats.
Yeah, Star Wars fans, because we know
get your lightsaber on.
You're working on more than one.
Yeah, very true.
Star Wars game. You could do it like that, like.
We shall see. But more importantly, hopefully those EA games have a little certain logo at the end of them that we can look forward to playing. Again, if Jedi Fallen Order and FIFA don't come, that's going to be a hard pill to swallow.
Yes, sir.
News alert, everybody. I'm interjecting into the podcast. Sorry, past Chris. Future Chris is here to tell you about Ubisoft dropping some news. Literally, Richie, the second after we finished recording the show on Friday.
Yep.
Quick glance at Twitter before we haven't even recorded side quests yet. This is just kind of Friday night. It's currently 10:38, ladies and gentlemen. That's how committed we are to bringing you a great podcast with all the relevant Stadia news, because we're doing it late. And you know what? I've cracked open a beer now. You'll see me at the end of the show. I won't have a beer, but you know what? Forget it. I got one.
Magic time traveling beer.
It keeps coming back. It refills like the one on in Infinity War. We digress. And this is supposed to be a quick news bulletin. Ubisoft. Before Chris, you get into the Ubisoft segment. That's right. You're going to edit this in the future, but go back and do it now. Before you go into the Ubisoft news, spoilers. Oddballs has been delayed. Shouldn't have said that. Anyway,
you just ruined the whole podcast.
I have. Anyway, Ubisoft have announced cloud gaming, or cloud computing, as we should call it, now known as, or I guess not now, futurely known as Ubisoft Scalar. Looks like Scalar. I don't know how I was going to call it. I thought it was Scandinavian at first. Ubisoft Scalar is Ubisoft's new cloud computing approach to video games. They're taking the constraints of a box, a hardware, a console, some would say. Sounds a lot like cloud gaming. They're going to unleash that on their Ubisoft games. But don't fear, this is not a competitor to Stadia. We've read the news blog on the website.
There's a lot in the blog. There's a lot of words, but no real detail at all. But one of the things they do say clearly is cloud gaming, as we understand it, is about basically you've got a box, your game is played on a box, the box is just far away. They do imagine if like you've got a PC somewhere else and there's a long HDMI cable going to your TV. That's effectively cloud gaming, like Stadia, Luna, GeForce Now, etc.
This is
cloud computing. Mm-hmm. This is where seems like a lot of the processing is done
elsewhere, in the cloud somewhere.
It's not that clear, but they are definitely going, this is not the same as cloud gaming. They talk a lot about massive open world, lots of players. So it seems like the plan is for the Ubisoft cloud computing servers to do a lot of the heavy lifting. I mean, anyone who's played MMOs back in the day and used to play World of Warcraft, you go into Stormwind and your frame rate would just tank. You'd have like smooth gameplay, where else, because it's just your PC's just trying too hard, can't keep up with all the amount of players. They're looking for solutions to basically, from what I can understand in this article, to get rid of that problem entirely.
Yeah, it sounds actually very similar to what Stadia promised at the beginning of their launch at GDC. We will use machine learning, the power of the cloud, to maximize like multiple 10 times the scale of either players or characters or worlds that you would have been able to do. So don't fear, it's not here to compete with Stadia. I very much think it will be a crazy decision from Ubisoft to go back on their Luna and Ubisoft deals to suddenly be like, guess what, we're doing it too. And it would be a bit ironic. However, yeah, Ubisoft Scalar seems to be a utility that is going to help Ubisoft expand the horizons and the breadth of their future titles. They do say within the blog post that they do have Ubisoft Stockholm are currently working on a brand new IP. So hopefully we'll hear about that in the future. That is developed solely with Ubisoft Scalar. And they have actually also mentioned this article. It will work in tandem with their, is it Snowdrop engine? Is Ubisoft?
Snowdrop and Anvil.
And Anvil, so Anvil's the Assassin's Creed, yeah.
It's not a game engine, but it kind of is. But it's not cloud gaming, but it kind of is.
It's very mixed messages.
Hence my comments on like the blog having a lot of words, but no real clarity to it. It's definitely something that I think is really worth us keeping an eye on.
And we will. Especially the new IP. What if, Richie, this is just this is a Trojan horse to get us into NFTs? Quartz?
Oh, maybe. I mean, it does seem in line. It seems in line with like Ubisoft's like changing direction, where they're going to focus on more games as a servicey stuff. So finding a way to get as many players in as possible into one world, so they're not instancing game servers.
Yeah.
If you're into these persistent online experiences, this could be amazing news for you. I'm just curious to see what they do, more about what the tech is.
Yeah.
Because they're quite vague, despite talking a lot.
Yeah, it's their own blog posts, and they go around in a lot of circles explaining actually what its intention is. But I guess they had to announce it at some point. There is obviously a video that accompanies this. It's like a 2-minute, almost like an Umbrella Corporation advert, I guess, for Ubisoft Scalar.
What made me laugh was actually one of the questions in this blog post. Games are, to a certain extent, limited by the specifications of the hardware they're played on. How, keyword, how does Ubisoft Scalar change that? Bit of talk, and then what Ubisoft Scalar allows us to do is simply get rid of these constraints.
So it doesn't answer it. It just does a full circle.
No, it doesn't answer the question at all.
Does a full circle and gets back to it's got constraints.
It's like a 7-line paragraph to basically not answer the question.
It's interesting. You're totally right.
It's interesting that this is a thing that they're working on and what it potentially could be.
Mm-hmm. So, it sounds like a future addition to their existing kind of portfolio. So don't fear, it's not a competitor. As I said, we will certainly be keeping an eye on all of this Ubisoft news in the future months, no doubt, as they come out and actually showcase how it is really going to benefit. My guess is like things like Assassin's Creed Infinity and stuff and future projects are just really going to be amplified by what Ubisoft want this to be. So we'll keep reporting on it. And I guess in other news, Richie, we've got Ubisoft related content dropping on SideQuest this week. Our SideQuest show, of course, our members get. Don't listen to future Chris, or past Chris, I guess. He's going to tell you they don't know what the SideQuest topic is, but we've came back in time to tell you what it is. What is it, Richie?
Ubisoft Scalar.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, we're talking about Ubisoft Plus versus Google Stadia Pro. That's Google Stadia Pro. And kind of weighing up the merits. If you could only pick one, which one would you go for?
That's right. It's the battle of the year, battle of the century. We're going to scale up that conversation and talk about, is Ubisoft Plus better than Stadia Pro? Head to head, clashing now. So like I said, don't listen to the guy in 20 minutes time who's going to say, we don't know what's on SideQuest this week. He's lying through his teeth. Either way, back to the podcast. Go wash your legs. Moving on though, with a cough, pardon me. Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Richie. We know it's coming. It's been coming for a while. We're now at the end of March nearly. It has been raided by the ESRB, which means we might finally see some laser shooting dinosaur Tyrannosaurus Rex action. sooner rather than later. We've been talking about this one. It feels like forever.
Yes, it was announced quite a while back, but the thing with ESRB ratings is this could mean, well, you might get a blog post today on Monday going, hey, it's here. Or it could be another month or two. There's really no way to know.
Yeah, it's again, it's a funny ongoing one. I've said a few times, I think you personally will really enjoy Blood Dragon, because I know you've dabbled in Far Cry, but none of them have really got the teeth into you as such.
Yeah.
This one I think will land, and I think we've said a few times I'd be really curious to just enjoy watching you play through, because it's not that long at all. It's very much a smaller, focused story. Of course, purchasable standalone. It was included as part of the Far Cry 6 Season Pass, so similar to a few games we often bring up and talk about, is this content was kind of promised months ago now, and we're still waiting. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I also believe it's out, if I'm not mistaken, it's out on other consoles. So it's almost, again, it's like another shortfall for for buying this game on Stadia. You are behind the times, as they say. But you know what, Blood Dragon, I've been waiting since 2009. I think I can wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, it's one for me to throw into the backlog. I'm not going to play the day it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, probably next time I end up with Ubisoft Plus for a month. That's probably what I'll jump in.
Certainly can. But looking forward to that. I'll still wait that little bit longer. And while we're with the Ubisoft news, interestingly enough, xDefiant, formerly known as Tom Clancy's xDefiant, has had a cheeky little rebrand, Richie. If you actually go now, if you want to pre-register for beta early access, you can do so over at the xDefiant website. It seems to have had a little bit of a rebrand. Now they've dropped the Tom Clancy name. It's just known as Ubisoft Original xDefiant now. And not really much of a story, but interesting enough, I feel like I care more about this game immediately more now that it's not associated with Tom Clancy. It's just a standalone game titled xDefiant. It's a first-person action shooter. And I don't know why, but I looked at that. I looked on the website. It's got like a new cool gold rebranding to it. It's not all necessarily like bright purples and blues. And all of a sudden, I feel a lot better about it. I don't know. It's such a weird thing.
I mean, I think we were talking before, like how sometimes we feel Ubisoft have overdone the Tom Clancy branding.
Oh, yeah.
Like it seems to be everything is a Tom Clancy games. Like, does this need to be?
Yeah. If Tom Clancy was a rock, they've squeezed blood out of him, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the rumor is that they've changed this because of backlash from actual Tom Clancy fans saying this looks nothing like a Tom Clancy property.
It doesn't.
So, I mean, my views on it haven't changed in the slightest. Online multiplayer military shooters are fun, but it's probably for me, these are the sort of games where I'll have fun for an evening and then move on to other stuff. I'm not going to be sinking hundreds and hundreds of hours into this.
Yeah.
Is it free to play? Do we know? Can we remember? I can't remember.
Yes, I believe it is a free to play. Yes, it is free to play, fast paced arena shooter that combines intense gunplay with personalised loadouts, specialised factions as teams, gunfires, and battles for domination.
Honestly, I think for a game like this, is a safe bet. Most of the time I spend playing it, you will see on stream.
That is a safe bet. As a side note, did you notice Rainbow Six Extraction it's out this week as part of like one of the Ubisoft super sales that they do. I've seen a few people stateside pick it up for like $15, which made me think, oh, you know what? I might pick up Extraction if it's like 12, 13 quid. Went over to the UK store, $34.99.
Yeah.
So there's a weird conversion rate that's not quite working out this side of the Atlantic right now. I am not paying £35 for Extraction Deluxe Edition.
No,
but if it was 12 quid, I might have considered it. So
yeah, I mean, I've got almost that in terms of Google Play.
Oh yeah, I think same. I think I'm up for £8 at the moment. Interesting.
But yeah, for 35 quid, I'll just get Ubisoft Plus for a month if I want to play it again. It's cheaper.
Exactly. But as an extra note on top of that, Richie, if you sign up for early access right now, one of your preferences for platform is Stadia and Amazon Luna in there. So if you want to register for the beta, you can do so on your chosen platform. On Stadia?
Apparently, I don't think the registration is new, you know. I'm sure I've registered before.
See,
and when I try to register again, it said I was already registered, so...
I did, but then it said I was registered with my PS5 account, so I changed back to Stadia, or to Stadia.
Yeah, I changed over to Stadia.
Just in case. But while we're in the Ubisoft block, quick update. OddBallers, we reported on it, coming to Stadia from a Ubisoft statement on their own website. It has been delayed. It was due out this summer, but and I read direct from the Ubisoft quote: in order to ensure the best experience for our players, we've made the decision to postpone the release of OddBallers to a later date. We want the launch of the game to be a smooth and complete experience, and that means taking more time for improvements. We are confident that the additional time will allow us to deliver the fun dodgeball party game we envisioned. We'll share more details about the release soon in due time. Thanks for your patience and understanding. There's an odd thing with OddBallers that it was announced on a statement. Nobody seems to have spoke about it. Ubisoft haven't even got an official trailer on the internet. Like, the only footage I could find was from like a PC test kit version.
Yeah.
And it's not made by a Ubisoft studio, I don't think. It's picked up by Ubisoft as like a publisher. It's just weird. And then the delay was announced as part of their blog, but not. Just odd. Usually when I go on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, you can find like an official Ubisoft North America trailer. You can find a Ubisoft Europe one. And this game's kind of like just exists. It looks fun. Definitely a stream-worthy title.
Yeah.
We said before, I think it looks like Outcasters, but with dodgeball. My
rule of thumb for these is, if you feel you need to delay a game until because it's not ready yet, delay the game.
Indeed. But that is it for Ubisoft news. Pivoting away to another title in line with the Quarry, unfortunately. Rebellion's newest entry in the Sniper Elite franchise has landed a date. They teased it earlier on in the year with a fancy cinematic trailer. We here at Ubisoft Cloud Games are of course big fans of Rebellion. We enjoyed playing Strange Brigade back in the day, Richie. We enjoyed playing Zombie Army 4. And we enjoyed, more importantly, playing Sniper Elite as well with Tom on one of our Thursday night live streams, taking out tanks, Nazis, and the like. Of course, Sniper Elite 5 continues that series. However, even though we've got all of those Rebellion titles on Google Stadia, over on Twitter, they again confirmed, I saw a few people asking them on socials, that they have no plans to bring it to Stadia at this time. Which again, it's just another one of those scenarios where we have titles and yet the next entry or the next sequelized installation isn't coming. And it's shit. May 26th, Richie.
I think again, I think what we're seeing a bit is in the first year and a half, maybe even 2 years, Google were going, here's a bag of cash, give me your game. They're not doing this anymore. And if like someone like Rebellion's looked and went, we don't sell enough copies to make it worth a while.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And I think we can all agree this is where Google's subsidising some kind of development costs needs to come into play to help satiate the time, money and effort that goes in. Otherwise, we are going to be stuck in a world where we see out 2022 and we get Ubisoft AAA, that's it, for the whole year, which is not good.
It does suck, but the reality is Google also are a business and they cannot just keep throwing bags and bags, as much as we'd love to see them do it. They can't just keep throwing bags and bags of money at everything.
Yeah, I know they can't. That's not their approach, but it's tougher to take when you look at Epic just throwing money around like no problem. Microsoft dropping billions on Activision. It's like, are they committed to this as much as the other players are? Because it doesn't look like it.
It comes down to return on investment. Microsoft buying Activision can expect to have a decent return on their investment for the shareholders. Google throw money at like Sniper Elite. Will they see the return to bring it over? And I'm not convinced they would.
Well,
I think it's a good game, but again, I'm not looking at Sniper Elite 5 and going, this is going to sell consoles.
Oh no, I don't think it is. It's very much a AA standard, but it does add to the library, and it's just a bigger shame because of the previous iterations. It's like, okay, you tried, they ran great, we had fun, but maybe not next time. We'll pass. So we'll see. It's we'll do our roundup on SideQuest, no doubt, as the year ticks over. But for then, in the time being, Richie, we'll drink our sorrows, and we'll drink them whilst playing 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, because they confirmed over on Twitter, Yeez Holler, one of the developers, has confirmed that the Napa Valley expansion will be arriving on March 24th. So not much longer to wait for a new scenario in the sun-soaked world of Napa Valley. New grape varieties, New challenges, new tools and structures, new aging options and flavors, new bottling customizations and tweaks and improvements, and much, much more. We should play this one, Richie. You got to crack open a bottle of wine with Tom, whereas I didn't get to.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't get to do
that.
That
was a fun stream. Like, if anyone's interested in 100 Days Winemaking Simulator, go check out the stream me and Tom did. We made a vineyard, we dressed up nice, and we had a bottle of wine each while we made it.
And you got
it was great.
It was good. It was very funny to watch you both descend into drunken farm ownership.
Yeah,
it was definitely funny. So Napa Valley, I'd love a bit of sun in my life right now, and it's great to see that the DLC is coming. Again, developer terrific, very open communication. They've been on a few shows with Stadia content creators, our friend John, and just very clear, give a lot of insight into the development. The game wouldn't exist without Google's funding, which again is just ironic when we talk about the other titles that aren't coming due to funding. Obviously on a different scale, but nonetheless, that's a bit of wine to swallow. Final story for the week, Richie, just a little throwaway one. Resident Evil live action show is coming to Netflix some point soon. I only wanted to bring it up because, of course, we've got Resident Evil on the platform. And you know what? We're still bloody owed RE-verse. Where is this expansion, this multiplayer game? I bought and played Resident Evil Village last June. It's nearly June again. I was promised this when I bought the title for full price at launch. It's been nearly a whole year. This is getting to mafia levels of consumer discretion. What's going on, Richie? Where's RE-verse, and why does this live adaptation on Netflix look shit?
I don't know. Do you know what's hilarious that I've just found? It's Resident Evil. It took me. I went to the Steam page and it took me to Resident Evil Village, and I was like, "It's Resident Evil Reverse on a 50% sale on Steam before it even comes out."
I mean, I don't know. So just reading, the Netflix series, it's focusing on the children of the Wesker kids. I don't know where they're going with this. But yeah, it's going to be apparently be pre-apocalypse, and it's going to follow the adventures of teenage sisters Jade and Billy Wesker. Can you guess who the father is? And something to happen in Raccoon City 14 years before shit kicks off. It doesn't look great, if I'm honest.
I'll admit I have little interest. I rarely have a Netflix subscription active. It might be one of them things, if I happen to have a Netflix subscription active because something really cool that I must watch comes, I might, while I've got it active, I'll jump in.
Maybe there'll be an advert for RE-verse within the show. I'm pretty sure in the time I've been waiting, they had a Resident Evil movie out on Netflix in the time it took them to get RE-verse out. But either way, it's hard to feel like I've paid for something. I was told I would get something, and I'm just months, and I'm over half a year later, and they've just not mentioned it. Yeah. They weren't, and they didn't tease it. They don't talk about it.
A quick Google search, I found articles. The most prominent articles seem to be dated back in July last year, saying it's been delayed again till 2022.
Oh,
so we are expecting it this year, but then it's also been 6 months since we've had anything.
Part of me feels like they're going to try and repackage it with the launch of the RE4 remake as like a...
I mean, they've promised everyone who bought Resident Evil Village this game for free.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So I feel like they're going to bundle it with RE4 and try and combine the two player bases and say, look, you enjoyed Village, he's RE4. Play together with RE-verse and special skins.
If they do a simultaneous release, that's fine. But if they turn and go, even if they go, buy Resident Evil 4 and you get RE-verse, that's also fine.
Yeah. But
anyone who's bought Village should be expecting this game because, again, this is something they did promise.
Yeah.
And I think they're being a lot of bother if it doesn't.
At the same time, I'm also past the point of caring, but... Yeah. It's another game that we can play.
One day it'll come out
on stream.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And aside from all that Umbrella Corporation news, Richie, the final story or topic I guess I'd like to end on this week is all the news of the Dev Summit and all the social feeds and titles coming out and such. They've kind of left a really positive note on the journalist side of things. Yeah. The last few weeks we've seen several articles from Forbes, The Verge, Business Insider to a degree, just kind of changed the narrative a little bit. People don't seem as sour on Stadia in recent weeks.
I think it's a sense in a lot of corners of like the gaming media. There's a lot of acceptance that Stadia isn't going to realistically anytime soon be competing against Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Google seem to have accepted that, the change in tack. It's been there's plenty of distance now between the rocky launch that Stadia had and that Google actually. One of the biggest things I think about the developer conference was Google actually talking about Stadia in any context.
Yeah.
I think because they hadn't done that for over a year. So I think this might have been as a kind of going, well, actually, Google are still talking about this thing. They haven't just cast it off, which I think a lot of press probably looked at and go, it had a rocky launch. Now we're here, and then they've went pretty much silent, and they're just letting this die, which is I think that can be a quite valid view to take. But then if Google turn around and going, no, we're not letting it die. It's not as high a priority for Google as a corporation as it used to be.
Yeah.
We're doing some other stuff with white labeling, but we are still supporting it to a certain extent.
Yeah, but
it's finding the niche. So I think they're probably looking at it through a different lens.
From a different tech lens, journalists are looking at it. There's an article even at the day of recording, 18th of March, just dropped on The Verge from Cameron Faulkner saying how to use your own controllers to play Google Stadia. And they've done some good research in saying how you can pair your DualShock, your Xbox controllers, your Nintendo Switch controllers. Obviously, if you want to play on Chromecast, buy a Stadia controller. And you know what? It's probably the most research they've done into Stadia in over a year. And this is stemmed from the back of Google actively talking to their audiences about it. So you're totally right. Silence, we've said for months now, silence doesn't do anything. It doesn't benefit anything. It just lets negativity spiral and get out of control. Whereas talking, it helps you control the narrative a bit more. And clearly it's starting to rub off on a few tech websites. Forbes article is just Google unveils its B2B cloud gaming platform, and they go in depth about the rename, the rebrand. They drop some links for the YouTube videos. But more importantly, they're not talking negative about it. They're just talking about business relationships, partners, what it could mean for the game. And you know what? Any news is good news in some respects. Again, as a consumer, maybe not what I want to hear, but the fact that I'm just seeing articles pop up in a positive light, it will help shift the narrative.
Well,
might be slowly, but
nice
it will.
It's nice to read something that is just not an op-ed, and it's just, here is information.
Yeah.
If you are interested in Google Stadia and you're curious about how you can use... I mean, the article from The Verge is actually called How to Use Your Own Controls to Play Google Stadia.
Yeah.
If you find that interesting, here's an article that tells you all the pros and cons of various different controllers and how to use them.
Yeah, indeed.
That's good.
But I do want to end on a funny note. Giz China, never heard of them before. They've got quite a lot of followers over on Twitter. They did an article titled "Stadia officially fails, becomes a Google Cloud product." I don't know. It
always was.
Yeah. I don't even waste my breath reading into it. But it essentially takes they've took a snippet of the kind of presentation. They've done no research on the last 2 years, and they're just going to town on it.
This is the whole art style of journalism that really annoys me when you read something and go, that is factually incorrect. If you'd spend half an hour researching it, you'd know that.
Yeah, and
that annoys me because I think journalism is such an important industry.
Yeah,
those who work in it should take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? The reviewer or whatever he wants to call himself, journalist, I guess. Probably needs to do a bit more work. But I've never heard of Giz China before, so don't give a shit. Anyway, on that note, great to see Stadia being talked about at Positive Life. Great to see the developer conference. Shame we're not getting any more big titles by the looks of it anytime soon on the platform. Alas, we have our pro games. Richie will play them. We'll play all of the Ubisoft games until we hear about more. I do hope this pushes them to do a consumer event. We're well overdue something for us gamers out there. Talk to us, Google. Talk to us, Stadia. We are waiting and listening with open ears. But Richie, that brings us to an end for episode 130 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in, listened and watched. Hopefully we break the 1,000 again. But if not, I'll have a couple of laughs in the comments by seeing if you wash or do not in fact wash your legs. Thank you to all of our members out there for tuning in, of course, and subscribing and supporting the channel that extra bit further. You get access to badges, super stickers, and more importantly, our side quest, where we go off the bean path and talk about one specific topic in a little bit more depth, up to 6 days early. Richie, we don't know what we're going to talk about this week, so I'm not going to awkwardly throw it over to you to panic and go, I don't know what I'm picking.
Oh, it's fine. I had a backup just in case you did. I was going to say it's a secret.
It's a secret. Good.
Yeah.
But of course, you can help decide what our topics are for SideQuest by jumping into our Discord server, throwing your ideas into the pool, and if it's a good enough one, we'll pick it out and we'll talk about it on the show. So do help us out. Help yourself out and click like, subscribe, and hit that bell also. We'll be back next week for episode 131 of the podcast. Check out all the other content. We've got a lot of first looks up on the channel right now, a lot of live streams, and of course you will see us later this week as we delve into the cloud and play another exciting title with you, the lovely community out there. You can find me at CyberChris2077 on Twitter. You can find Richie at
RichieC89.
And you can find us at Helix Cloud Games. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thanks for watching. And remember, folks, play wherever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. See you soon. Goodbye.
Wash your legs.
Wash your legs. Or don't. Goodbye.